What is up, Mountaineer Hoops fans? This is Coos.
And this is Mountaineer Paul.
We present to you
Hoops from the Hills.
What is going on, fellow West Virginia Hoops fans? Coos and Paul here bringing you another episode of Hoops from the Hills. Today we are proud to present a special guest, former Mountaineer Hooper and current professional Hooper. Most of you probably know him, Mr. Chase Harler. Chase, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk to you guys.
Privilege to have you on, man. It's always cool to talk to former players. Obviously, we grow. I say grow up. We we were grown men, but we watched you guys play, and sit by the edge of our seat watching you play pretty much every single game for the Mountaineers. So it's really cool to get to meet you and introduce you to our fellow hoops fans out there.
For sure. I'm happy. I'm excited.
So let's just start out with a simple question, man. What are you up to these days?
Yeah, so right now, I'm in my third year of professional basketball in Europe. My rookie year, I was in Lithuania. Last year, I was in Sweden. And then this year, I'm in Hungary. I'm enjoying it. Kind of how we'll get into it, I'm sure, but kind of how my senior year ended. 2020 was the beginning of COVID. Mm-hmm. That's when everything got, canceled. March Madness, Big 12 tournament. And, I couldn't go out like that. I couldn't end my career on something I had no control over. So, when I did have the opportunity to play, I was kind of juggling that idea if I wanted to keep doing it. And when I had the opportunity, I took it, and now I'm in my third year.
Awesome, man. Yeah, happy to see that. Always good to see Mountaineers, former Mountaineers go on and pursue their dream of playing professional basketball. I mean, we always think about the NBA, but, man, there's professional basketball leagues all over the world. And, you're still getting paid to do something you enjoy and love to do. So that's a great accomplishment, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So you say you couldn't go out like that. I like that, man. So 2020, do you feel like you were starting to come into your own there in your senior year? And you didn't have an opportunity to show everybody exactly what you were capable of, because you've proven it as a pro, there's no doubt. Double-digit scorer. It's a harder league, obviously. I would say, I don't know, maybe the Big 12 is harder than some pro teams. You could tell us that. I don't know. But I'm assuming that you play against better players, at least that from time to time. And I mean, I saw you had a 29-point game. You've had double-digit scoring seasons multiple times. So obviously there was more in you to tap that has become tapped.
Yeah, going into WVU, coming out of high school, having a ton of accolades and being Gatorade Player of the Year and everything. The expectations for me when I got to West Virginia was to almost produce those same amount of numbers, right? And then when I got there my freshman year, I played behind really four great guards. Tariq Phillip was a senior, Tavon Myers was a senior. That was JC and Dax's junior year, so there really wasn't a ton of playing time there. And then going to my sophomore year, JC and Dax's senior year, where they're both playing 32 plus minutes. There just really wasn't a ton of minutes there either. Your junior year got to play a lot more, but didn't have a great year. We good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're just breaking up just a tad there, Chase.
Am I okay?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now, though. Yeah.
All right. No, I was saying about my junior year, we didn't have a great year, but I got to obviously play a lot more. And then, my senior year, the kind of what you just said, I felt more comfortable, obviously, coming off a year of actually just getting to play more. I mean, if you really view it as kind of like the minutes and everything, my junior year was my first year of actually getting meaningful time. So going into my senior year, I definitely felt more comfortable. Our team was good. Things were rolling. And it just sucks the way it ended. And depending on the league and depending on the teams, I mean, obviously, even in the Big 12, even in Division I, there's good teams, there's bad teams, there's good players and bad players. So you kind of run into that over here. But I accepted my role at West Virginia, and I think I did a really good job at it. And that's what Hugs needed me to do was, especially my senior year, make open shots and kind of be a glue guy and a defensive guy. And I tried to do that to the best of my ability.
Absolutely, man. And we, I mean, obviously, as fans, we appreciate those types of players, man. The guys who dive on the floor for loose balls and give it everything they got on the defensive end and make shots. I mean, you were a really good shooter. I do remember that. They needed a big basket. They could count on you to knock it down usually. That 2019 season, Chase, if I remember correct, that's the season that a bunch of guys ended up getting dismissed from the team. And you guys had to rely on a lot of freshmen like Jordan McCabe and so on and so forth to step up. Can you kind of explain? I know you got to play a lot that year, which was great for you personally,
Yeah.
but as a team, can you explain what it was like to go through that and the challenges of a season like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough. I mean, the year before going to the Sweet 16, losing to Villanova, which ended up winning the national championship, and we were only a couple plays away from beating them. There was obviously questions going into that season because no Dax and no JC, and just from the very beginning, the first game we lost to Buffalo, dropped a couple more down in Myrtle Beach, the Invitational, and just kind of going back and forth, really just couldn't find a rhythm. But yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, back-to-back Sweet 16s, and then I don't even think we won 16 games that year. But the second half of the year, I mean, as weird as it sounds, it was a lot of fun. Like, we really had like a 7-man rotation. At that point, we had nothing to lose. So, guys that you mentioned, Jordan McCabe and Emmett Matthews, getting meaningful playing time as freshman, Derek Culver. And, we obviously were still losing games, but I think somebody even said it a couple times in, post-game interviews, like the second half of the year was almost a whole new team where he enjoyed being around us. We played hard. And, as a player, when you have nothing to lose, that's usually when you play your best. So we were playing extremely confident, won 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, made some noise there. And, there were some good moments in that year as well, mostly on the second half. But, yeah, I mean, it was tough to go through. I mean, overall, it was still a tough year.
Okay. Without naming names, I'm not going to ask you to name names. Can you explain what happened, why some of those guys got kicked off the team? Was it just not buying in? What was it?
Yeah, without going into too many details, that was kind of a coaching staff decision. We had individual meetings one day, and some people didn't come back, and
I got you.
that kind of that's how it ended. But the guys that did happen to went on to other schools and actually continued to play professional basketball. So that was kind of a little roadblock or a little maybe not so great time for them, but they moved on, and I still talk to that team a lot to this day.
Good.
I mean, they're still great guys.
It was a detour, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, a little detour. But those, like I said, I wouldn't just lie to you guys. Like, I still talk to those guys today, and they're great people.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing personal, man. I know this is, it's like a business, so to speak. Sometimes guys just aren't a fit. It doesn't work. You got to move, and sometimes it's best for both sides to go their different ways.
For sure.
So obviously NIL was something that was obviously being talked about, and it hadn't kicked in quite when you ended your career.
No, don't remind me.
You just barely missed it.
Yeah.
You would have made some money too, man. You would have. Question to you is, can West Virginia compete? Just your best guess. Do you think they can compete on the national level financially with these other teams? Or do you think it's going to be hard?
No, I know what you're saying. And there's 2 different views of this, right? So, like, you could look at it, you could just use Texas in general, just the state of Texas, right? Like, they look. There's like 8 Division I universities there, right? Where West Virginia, Marshall and WVU are the only 2 Division I schools. So there's a bigger market for WVU in that aspect. And, it's brand new. I'm actually a part of, Country Roads Trust is, and quote unquote, like the in-house, WVU NIL team. I work for them, so I'm out there looking for money for WVU athletes. And I mean, from my personal experience, there's plenty of opportunities for WVU athletes, and it's going to take some time. It's not like within the first month we're going to bring in $10 million to give out to these athletes. Like, we need to show some. The Country Roads Trust has done a great job of showing some or a lot of they're valuable, right? NIL is really just a marketing lane. So when you talk to these businesses, you're just trying to get into a marketing budget and showing a different avenue, a different lane they can get into, promote their business using WVU athletes, their platforms.
Interesting. So are you involved in the basketball and football aspect of that, all sports?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of just reaching out to businesses and see if there's any interest in any sport. Obviously my expertise would be basketball, just for obvious reasons. So that's what I do in my free time while I'm over here in Hungary.
Awesome.
So if there's any businesses watching this or listening to this,
hit
Chase up on Twitter. He's at Chase Harler 4 on Twitter, which I actually didn't meant to plug earlier anyway. So Chase Harler 4 on Twitter. You can check me out on Twitter at Coos206. Check Paul out at Paul Mountaineer. But yeah, so reach out to him, man. If you want to be part of West Virginia's NIL collective team, Country Roads Trust, Chase can help you out. Doesn't matter what sport. I'm sure he can get you in touch with the right person.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what sport. I think it's valuable. I mean, like I was just speaking earlier, like it's just a marketing scheme where, these athletes are obviously getting compensated for their time and their platform, but it's also going to help. It's like instead of just using a billboard, you're going to use an athlete that has 50,000 Instagram followers to post something about your business, right?
Right.
It's going to get
like Rodney Gallagher.
It's going to get it's going to get more of this, probably more engagement than a billboard or a TV ad or something along those lines, because social media runs the world.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, social media marketing is where it's at, man. I'm starting,
for sure.
Since I started doing this, I've gotten a lot more involved on Twitter. Trying to do Instagram, not really great at it yet. I'm not real good at Instagram. I'm still trying. I'm having to rely on my kids to help me.
Yeah,
it's a little challenging, but but I'm trying to be more involved on social media because it's where it's at. I've probably gotten more promotion just by being active on Twitter than anything else I've done since I've started this show. So,
absolutely,
same here.
It's
amazing how accessible people are. So, sorry, Coops.
No, that's fine. I was just gonna say that's probably how you and I really first started communicating, was through Twitter.
Yeah.
So Chase, I got to ask you, man. I know we're kind of bouncing around here. We don't really have any method to our madness. Hope that's okay. But your last game, or maybe not your last game, but your senior day game.
That was my last game.
Okay, we all remember the proposal, right?
Yep.
So are you officially married now?
Yeah, I got married this summer in July. So we were engaged for about a year, and then officially got married in July of this year. Oh, 2022.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think Mountaineer fans will ever forget that moment, man. That was pretty cool.
That was wild.
And especially it was the last game of 2020 before everything happened. I mean, It's a hell of a way to go out.
It is.
Yeah.
And you guys were rolling at the end of that season too, man. You got on a streak. You were winning games, playing the best basketball of the season, man. Which is what you want, right?
Yeah,
you want to be playing your best basketball going into March. You guys were.
We were coming off a pretty rough February. I don't know if we won a game in February, and then rattled off maybe like 3 or 4 in a row. Obviously the last game was against number 4 Baylor. But yeah, we just really starting to figure it out. And our matchup was against Oklahoma in the Big 12 tournament. And we lost to them twice during the year. But just the way we were playing, we liked that matchup, and we were really confident going into that game before obviously everything happened.
Are you I'm sure part of you is really proud of Deuce and JC. But are you surprised to see the success that both of them have had, especially JC playing on one of the best teams in the world, and obviously has a huge role in that team, and has carved out an excellent role for himself in the NBA?
Yeah, surprised by either of it. Not really, especially JC. I mean, I played with JC for 2 years, his junior and senior year, my freshman and sophomore year, and it's the most cliche thing to say when anyone talks about Javon Carter is like how hard he worked, but like seeing it firsthand and seeing it every day. Maybe when I was in it, I just overlooked it. Be like, yeah, of course JC goes and works out 2 hours a day. Like, what else is he gonna do? But like now, sitting here talking about it, looking back when he worked out and actually how hard every workout was, it was incredible. And then as far as Deuce, Deuce was a little bit of a late bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
Going into the season, even the summertime, obviously a good player, but if you would have asked me 2 weeks into the summer, it's like, hey, do you think Deuce is going to get drafted his sophomore year? I'd probably say no. I mean, and he might say the same thing. I mean, deep down inside, I'm sure he had that confidence, but a little bit of a late bloomer. I think really what put him on the stage was the Ohio State game. We were 21st in the country. They were second. He had an unbelievable game. And I tell people all the time, Deuce single-handedly won us probably 4 or 5 games his freshman year. And he just carried that momentum into his sophomore year, had a great sophomore year. And he's built like an NBA guard. So he's doing well for himself as well.
Yeah, I always thought he would have probably been the National Player of the Year, at least the prospect for it, his junior or senior year if he would have stuck
Yeah, for
around.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, his story always intrigues me because he was. I've heard Hugs talk about how he never even saw him play.
Yeah.
In person. He relied strictly on the word of Deuce's high school coach, and then obviously I guess he watched some film maybe. And I thought, man, how risky is it to go recruit a guy that you've never even seen play? But it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out for sure.
What would you say? Well, before I go to that route, what are your thoughts on this year's team? Why do you think they all of a sudden? I mean, obviously we know the Big 12 is a tough conference, but
Yeah.
what do you think has got them kind of on this downward spiral, so to speak, for lack of a better term?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've watched 90% of the games. I was at the Stony Brook game. Um, I mean, I like the team still. I think they still have potential to be really good.
I
They
do
have
too.
they
I do
have the
too.
pieces. They have the pieces. It's just being consistent with everything throughout the game. I mean, we don't have 5-star recruits. We don't have McDonald's All-Americans where just pure talent's going to win the game. Someone like Kansas. I mean, they could have kind of an off game and rely on talent. They're gonna be in the game or win most games. Where WVU, they got to, which I think they have that. And the two teams I was on the Sweet 16, that was what separated us from a lot of teams, was just that grit and grind mentality. And you got to rely on that to win games. Where pregame or halftime or whatever, we knew we weren't probably the best shooting team consistently, but we could always rely on defense, right? You have a decision if you're going to have a bad defensive game. You don't really. I mean, you have some control over shooting. Sometimes the ball just doesn't go in. So I think if they can just go back to that grit and grind mentality, just relying purely on effort and defense, usually when you have a game like that, offensive flow, flows a lot easier.
Right. Because you get points off your defense, right? You get turnovers,
Yeah.
things like that, transition baskets.
Yeah.
Paul, before I'm going to transition into now kind of talking about Hugs and his coaching philosophy. Do you think, because his teams seem to struggle to shoot the ball at times, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that his teams have to put forth so much effort on the defensive end of the court that it affects their shooting, or is that totally a myth?
Maybe from a normal fan or just a normal basketball watcher watching that, they could say that and maybe agree with it. But if you would see how much preparation there is with conditioning, with lifting, even with practices, how hard practices are, like for the most part, you're pretty conditioned to shoot and play at that intensity at all times. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna get a little bit more tired, but that would be if we didn't practice 2 times, 3 times harder than how hard we play in the games. You know what I mean?
Right. Makes sense. That's why I wanted to ask you, because you've experienced it, and I'm looking at it just strictly from a fan perspective. And that is one thing that's out there about Hugs teams, because they do seem to have a tendency to, before him we had John Beilein, and his team shot the lights out.
Yeah.
pretty consistently. Almost every guy on the court could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And Hug's
Yeah.
teams seem to be more, sometimes they struggle to shoot, and they've always had to win with defense, rebounding, that kind of thing. Um, and sometimes as a fan watching, it gets frustrating. You're like, man, this team just can't make shots. And even Hugs
Yeah.
Well,
No.
in press conferences constantly, we just can't make shots. And we're like, man, well then go get guys that can make shots. That's kind
Yeah.
of what we're thinking. But
Yeah.
I just want to hear from a player's perspective. And Paul, what do you have, man?
oh, I was just thinking. Well, I guess it's probably part of his recruiting philosophy would probably be part of that answer. But um, I don't know. I was thinking about Hugs. Obviously, we're in a new era. Hugs was never a big fan of just getting freshmen and bringing those guys in. Even at Cincinnati, Hugs was a guy that built his teams off of usually juniors and seniors. I mean, it's not like he would play freshmen, but he loved to have older teams, and physical teams that could learn multiple defenses. You look back at the 2010 the 2010 team. They played 1-3-1. They played 2-3. They played box and one. They played it all. They did everything. And I think that those were older guys. Those are older players, and that's not today's era, right? So, Hugs obviously has transitioned. He was resistant to it at first with the transfer portal, and I think now he's embraced it and seen how it can be good to him. But I wonder if his coaching style is conducive to that. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah. I
way,
know what you're
because he
saying.
wants these players to try to learn his philosophy in 1 year. And so if you bring one or two guys in to do that, okay. But an entire squad, that just seems like it's a big ask.
Yeah, I mean the transfer portals has its pros and cons for sure, and that's probably one of the cons is getting a group of guys that you hope are going to gel and listen and do what you say, and sometimes it just doesn't work that way. And then it's a pro because instead of like you're saying the freshman go out and recruit a 18-year-old high school senior, you're going to bring in a 22-year-old junior or senior that has 2 or 3 years of college experience. So there's so many pros and cons to both sides.
Does it take a while to learn his system, or is it pretty simple in your mind? And I don't mean simple in a negative way, but is it? You know what I'm saying? It's.
My bad, you broke up a little bit. What'd you say?
I'm sorry. I said, is Hug's system a complicated system to learn that takes a couple of years to adjust to, or is it something that can be picked up on pretty quick?
Um, I mean, there's certain. I mean, defensively, there's just flat out rules to it. I mean, when I was there, we did more of my first 2 years at least. We did the press, and there were some rules to it. A lot of it was just controlled chaos, to be honest, where you just had smart basketball IQ guys that kind of could play off each other. Offensively, it's not too terribly confusing or complex. It's just having the right guys in the right positions that complement their game.
Makes sense.
So, one thing I've always wondered is obviously Coach Hugs is a very smart guy, even though he'll downplay it at the podium. Um, I'm not asking you to say anything bad about him at all. I just wonder, like, he never get. I love lingo, and I love get coaches that talk the lingo, to us. And you never hear Hugs get on the podium and talk X's and O's and break
hmm
something down very specific. Um, does he do that in practice? Is he very specific, or is he always just kind of like uh, kind of to the point with things?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, it's definitely a mixture of both. Uh, there's plenty of times where he's stopping practice and having a teaching moment, and Tony kind of where the reads are, what you're looking for. I mean, there's multiple film sessions we've had where we watch, the older teams run plays and see how they ran plays and how they were successful. I remember my sophomore year, especially, we watched that 2010 team a lot. We wanted to try to get into a little bit more of an open motion offense where it was 5 out, pass and cut, pass and screen, and we really didn't do a ton of that at the beginning of the year. And he wanted to kind of get that into the offense, and we ran it in practice for a few days, and it just wasn't clicking for us. And then we went and watched the film from the 2010 team, which they were unbelievable at it. And that's one of those little teaching moments. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's definitely a mixture of both throughout practice, though.
Interesting. I've got to ask you: were you able to avoid the treadmill during your time at West
Hell
Virginia?
no. Hell no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my freshman to sophomore year, it was tough. I think my freshman year I might have had like 9 in one practice.
Oh my God.
What's he
But the
set
worst
that
part
thing
of
at?
well, at the time, it was between 14 and 15 miles per hour for about 35 to 45 seconds. And the worst part, as I gotten, throughout my 4 years, you learned a couple, tricks and tips to just be able to survive that. Where, my freshman year, I'd get on the treadmill and I'd get right back, walking towards the court. And he put me in right away. That was kind of his thing. You get on the treadmill, you run, you get off, he puts you back in for like, more punishment, right?
Right.
As I get a little bit older, you get off the treadmill, you kind of take your time walking back to the court, catch your breath a little bit, maybe get out a few reps, and then you get put back in so you don't make that same mistake. Because if you get the biggest thing with hugs is if you get beat towards the middle, right? So if you're on the left wing and the guy drives it to the middle, you're gonna get put on the treadmill in practice. So if that happens, you go on the treadmill, you come back out, you can't feel your legs, so there's a better chance that I got beat in the middle
It's
again.
going to happen
So
again.
yeah, so as you get a little older, you kind of you realize maybe don't hurry and get back to the court as fast as you did your first couple of years. But yeah, that treadmill is real. It's real.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Without being too negative, after watching last year's team specifically, man, they got beat in the middle a lot. So I don't know if he got rid of the treadmill or they just didn't care. I don't know, man. It was.
Yeah, out
that.
of all of like Huggins is, the 10 commandments of Coach Huggins, getting beat middle or don't get beat middle has to be top 2 or 3.
Yeah,
probably I'd say the top three are don't get beat middle. If you're rebounding,
inside and
you have to
opposite.
get opposite. Yeah, get opposite, and then if you're shooting the ball, get it over the rim. Those are the top 3.
Yeah.
Like those are the Bob Huggins commandments right there.
Oh yeah, he wants you. Yeah, he always talks about players not looking at the rim, right?
Yeah, get the ball over the rim so the bigs have a chance to rebound. If you shoot a line drive at the rim, it's going to be a long rebound, or it's going to, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, obviously I've never coached at that level, but I coach a middle school age team in some travel ball, and the middle thing, I think I understand it because all you got to do is slide your feet over and try to stop somebody. I mean, it's not really that difficult to do. It's effort and it's knowing where you're at on the court. That's court awareness. That's kind of the two things you got to have in that situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I get on my girls all the time for the same thing. I'm like, you got to stop the ball. You can't give up free drives to the basket. I mean, you're basically giving up 2 points. So
yeah,
I understand why. I understand that even at that level, at that high of a level, it definitely shouldn't be happening, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I can sit here and say it's easier said than done, and it's a lot easier said than done. I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, I know what you're saying as well. It's much easier when the ball is just kind of going around the perimeter. The hardest time to stop someone going from middle was on a closeout, right? Because you're running at them, they're going at you. They kind of have a little bit of
They
an
have the
advantage,
advantage.
but good players can kind of figure it out, and that's why JC was Defensive Player of the Year 2 times in a row. I mean, he rarely got beat middle, and if he did get beat middle, he was working his ass off to get back in front and trying to strip the ball or do something.
He usually stripped it.
Yeah.
Well, if you got
and it helped having big Sags back there. If he did get beat middle, he would just clean up send it to the fifth row.
That guy, I love watching that guy play. He was one of my favorite players to watch back then, man. Some of his
Sags
blocks
awesome.
were absolutely just unreal. I mean, I'd never seen a player do that before.
Sags and I were roommates for 3 years when we were at school together.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What's he into these days?
He's playing professionally overseas as well. I believe he might be in Germany, but he's played in every top country and top league. He's doing really well for himself.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Can you explain how the leagues work over there? Like where you're at, like what level and what league do you play in? What level, and is there a league above that or below it? Or I
Yeah,
just
for
don't know
sure.
anything about it.
Yeah, I mean each country has multiple leagues. Um, like the powerhouse countries you can consider would be like Spain, Italy, Germany, um, France. Those are probably the top countries, and obviously the best leagues in those countries
No
are.
China?
China's very good too. Yeah, China could be. I was kind of just doing Europe, but China would definitely be up there
Oh,
as well. I
okay.
mean, a lot of ex NBA guys are in the Chinese league, but yeah, I mean, there's tiers to it. I'm in Hungary right now. There's 3 divisions in Hungary. I'm in the middle division, um, but the idea of me coming here was to win this league and move up to the first league, right? So most times in most countries, the last place team in the first league moves down to the middle league or the second league, and then the winner of the second league moves up. So that's
Heard of that.
kind of what I'm here trying to achieve. And um, my league's good, but the league above me is really good basketball. There's been multiple Mountaineers I've played in the top
Awesome.
league of Hungary. So, but yeah,
What
I'm happy. I'm
Interesting.
in a good city. I'm in a good city.
That's good.
I mean, yeah, I just can't complain about much over here.
what so
Safe.
What was
Sorry,
it?
dude. Safe. Safe place to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm good.
That's
I'm
good.
good.
what
Yeah.
so how is your team doing? Are you in the middle of a season right now, or what period are you in right now?
Yeah. So we played 15 games, so we're 12-3.
Okay.
Second place, should be in first place, but lost 2 games that we shouldn't have lost, but can't do much about that. But yeah, we're in second place. There's 14 teams in our league, so we'll play 26 regular season games, home and away. So we're about, so I say 15 games. We got 11 games left, and then playoffs will start and everything. So I'll probably be home mid-May.
If you don't mind, I thought about staying away from this, but it's not like it's. You said you talked about it before. Can you explain what happened with Oscar Tshiebwe and that whole situation?
Yeah, I can speak on it from my experience because the year he left, I was gone. Um, his freshman year was my senior year, and just from my experience, like Oscar was, he still is, but from his freshman year at West Virginia, super hard worker, super great kid. Listened, worked extremely hard. Was definitely a an asset to have on the floor. Had big moments for us, and then, like I said, I was gone the following year, but I mean, from outside looking in, I just assumed things just weren't clicking for him. I'm sure he, butted heads with Coach Huggins and the coaching staff a little bit, and that happens. Like
Yeah,
everyone kind of goes through a little phase where they're bumping heads with Coach Huggins. I mean, I went through it. I'm sure Javon went through it. Someone like Deuce probably went through it, so it's not uncommon. And he made a decision that he thought that was best for him, and probably it worked out for him. Honestly, I mean, WVU went their way and they're doing fine. And he's at Kentucky. He obviously had a great year last year. They're kind of having a little bit of a down year this year, um, but yeah, from my experience, I had a positive experience with Oscar. But if I was there the following year, maybe am I saying the same thing? I don't know, just because I wasn't there.
right.
I was in
He's
Lithuania, man. I was disconnected.
absolutely. I'm sure he's probably one of the more talented guys you've been around. Just looking at
Yeah,
what he's been able to do, he's
crazy.
so much talent. That was going to be my next question. While he thinks, did you think what you were going to say,
I
Coos?
did. I did. It was
Okay,
related to overseas ball. Is there a limit on how many Americans they can have on a team over there?
Yeah, so it just depends on the league and the country. So my rookie year in Lithuania, only could have one. So I was the only American on the team. Last year, you could have 4 imports, is usually what they say. Import is usually anyone that doesn't have the domestic passport. So I was in Sweden, right? So we had 4 imports. We had 3 Americans and 1 Canadian. And then this year, since it's the middle division, they only allow 1 import as well. So I'm the only American. But all my teammates speak English. My
Okay.
coach speaks English, so there's
Good.
no. But in Sweden, it was nice in Sweden because obviously having other Americans and whatnot, and Everyone speaks. I mean, they speak Swedish in Sweden, but 80% of the other people speak English as well, and it's good English.
Yeah, that actually you answered my next question. I was going to ask about the language barrier there, so that's I'm sure made the transition much easier for you.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
Because I've heard interviews on other podcasts with other former players and there's been times I think in certain countries where there's been language barriers for some of the guys, and it's been
it can definitely be an issue, but luckily my teammates speak good English, the coaches speak good English, management speaks good English, so it's all good.
Has the whole Brittany Griner thing changed how you guys look at traveling overseas at all?
That's crazy. I think it may be. I wouldn't say like me personally. I mean, obviously, I would like to probably avoid Russia playing there. But yeah, I mean, it's just you just gotta be smart about everything. Where even like a normal routine traffic stop, if you would get pulled over in a different country, like how you react to America, like they might react completely differently. So like you just have to be aware of all that kind of stuff. And honestly, the people that have long careers overseas obviously perform on the court, but are just aware of off the court situations as well, can adapt to any situation. And I'm still learning. I mean, I feel like I've done a good job since my rookie year of obviously having no off court issues or whatnot, but that's another big thing. I mean, you're living here for 9 months. You got to kind of have to adjust to their culture and learn about it. The more you dive into it, the much easier it is, other than just rejecting it or fighting it. Just kind of accept it for what it is.
Right. I got you. Have you played? And I should know the answer to this question, but have you played for the TBT team at all yet?
So I played not this past year where they made it to Dayton the year before,
Okay.
but we lost in the I guess it would have been the Sweet 16. We lost the team 23 that they actually made it to the championship. They lost in the championship, I believe.
I was thinking you did, but I couldn't remember. But,
yeah, I have hopes, and I would like to play for them again this summer. We know we've talked about it. It's just if it all works out again.
Yeah, right. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with your schedule over there and everything, right? And what happens with your contract.
Yeah, just the summertime. Yeah, everything with the summertime schedule. I mean, it's during the summer, which is nice, and the off season's during the summer, but just people's, summer schedules. Like I said, most guys are gone for 8 or 9 months. So, towards the end of the season, they're already planning trips and planning what they're going to do throughout the summer. So it just makes sense for everybody, and, whoever can make it, make it.
Now, J-Flo, he's not going to play anymore, is he? Or is he still going to play?
You said John Flowers?
Yeah. I call him J-Flo because that's what he is on Twitter.
Oh yeah, J-Flo. J-Flo's into everything now, man. He's a retired hooper, financial advisor, real estate, the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a man of many tricks,
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I knew he retired from playing overseas, but I didn't know if he was going to retire from.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know if he's
or not.
He might be too old to play in the TBT. They might have an age limit or something for him.
I'm sure he'll still be involved in it, obviously, putting the team together.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be doing something
because it's kind of his. Yeah. It's kind of his baby, right? I mean, it was kind of his idea in the first place.
He started it with the alumni games, and then kind of transitioned to this the TBT, and no, he does a really good job of kind of keeping the alumni, around the fan base and everything. So I give a lot of credit to him for everything he's done over the years.
Yeah, I went to Beckley to watch him because I live less than an hour from Beckley here in the southern part of the state, and I went to watch him play an exhibition game. Matter of fact, it may have been the year you played. Did you play it? Was you playing the year?
Yeah, we played.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Beckley and watched you guys play an exhibition game. Had a good time. Took my daughter, my dad went. We had enjoyed it, man. It was And J-Flo stood up and made a speech at the end of the game about thanking everybody for coming, and you can just really tell that guy loves the state of West Virginia, man.
For sure,
he loves the fan base.
Yeah. He's a good ambassador for the state, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely he is.
I saw where he quote tweeted Elon Musk and something there a couple weeks back about a house he had that was open or just something goofy like that.
He's a character.
He is.
He's very
What do you
entertaining.
think about what do you think about just the ridiculously dumb situation that Jose Perez is in right now because of the NCAA?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I
we're all
actually
pissed
met
about it.
him. Yeah, and he would definitely help this year. So when we were in Cancun my senior year, he was playing for. He's been to a couple schools. I forget what school he was. Oh, he was with
Gardner Webb, Marquette.
Gardner Webb. Yeah, Gardner Webb. So he was in Gardner Webb down in the Cancun. They were also down there. So I forget after one of our games, we might have went to the restaurant or a bar or something, and I saw him in there. I was talking to him a little bit, and we followed each other on Instagram way back then, and obviously that's the last time I spoke to him in person, and then to see him commit to West Virginia, that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's a weird situation. I think the where the situation occurred was like he tried to he transferred after he already enrolled into another school. I think that's
Correct.
where it's causing a lot of issues. But the reason why he was transferring was reason why hundreds and hundreds of kids transfer is the head coach leaves, right? So usually when the head
Yeah.
coach leaves, that gives the kid almost an out or a legitimate excuse to be able to play right away. So I
Yeah.
think that's where it's causing a lot of the issues. But yeah, I mean, at the same
Well,
time,
we're
it's
supposed to
like,
know
come on.
today.
Yeah, it's like, come
We're
on, just
supposed
let
to
the
know
kid play.
today, so hopefully that thing gets cleared. I've heard. I actually had people. Somebody that connected me with Jose uh, told me that it was all good. He said that it was clear. This has been like a week ago, and then that's
Yeah.
when they came out and said no, it's going to be next Wednesday. And I'm like, well, what was he going off of? Because like he tells me, and he does. He did. He covered Jose directly. They're really close. He even wrote several articles about him and Coach Masiello at Manhattan. So I know like he's a little credible. So, but I'm just glad I didn't go public with that information. That he was telling me that he was cleared and everything.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was gonna look dumb. Got to be careful with that stuff. But I hope Jose,
Yeah, for
a
sure.
dude that averages 18 points a game. I don't care what league it's in. Um, be really big help to the squad this year.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So hopefully they figured all that out and he can maybe even play tonight. Who knows?
Because he's 23 years old. Here's the reality for West Virginia. If he doesn't get to play this year, what are the odds that he stays and plays next year? Is he going to, he's got so many other options. Unless they throw an NIL deal at it, that he can't refuse, probably going to go pro or something like what you're doing in the pros overseas, whatever. There's so many options for a kid, and he's already 23 years old.
Yeah.
Four schools. I mean, he's probably tired of being in school.
Yeah.
I listened to Hug's press conference yesterday, and they asked him that, but basically, if he does get cleared, is he ready to play now? And Hugs didn't really, he never gives a clear yes or no answer on anything, probably for good reason. But he basically said the guy's not even been practicing; he's only been on the practice squad, basically playing offense all the time. So I don't know. It kind of made it sound like to me like it might be a while before he's ready to be in the lineup, which tells me this late in the year. I don't know. So Hugs kind of left me scratching my head wondering what he would do with him if he does get cleared. Now, that could just be coach speak so that the other team doesn't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I'd probably assume it's more so that, yeah, I mean, if he's cleared, I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully he gets cleared, soon. And I'm not saying he's going to go out there. If he's cleared today, like I wouldn't expect him to go out there and play 30 minutes, but kind of what Trey Mitchell did that very first game when he was cleared to play, played whatever, 15, 16
Yeah.
minutes and kind of just get a feel
Scored
for the game
13
again.
points.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I think too. And because Hug said that he's not even been playing defense much. He's basically been acting as the other team's best player.
Best player. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been playing mostly just offense all the time at practice.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know, if he could get ready. But like you said, he's probably not going to let the cat out of the bag on that. Even if he is cleared, he may not say it until it's, game time or close to game time.
Exactly.
But, well, Paul, do you have any other questions for Chase, man?
We've kept him for 45 minutes, man. I appreciate your time, bro. On your day off like this or your evening off. Appreciate this.
Absolutely, man. It's been an
Means
honor
a
and a
lot.
privilege. We one more time, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and everything.
Yeah, you can find me at Chase Harler 4. That's Instagram and Twitter. And like we kind of talked about earlier, if there's any businesses or just individuals that want to get involved in the NIL space and help WVU athletes and help these teams bring in these top recruits that can help produce and win games, then definitely reach out to me and we can get something done with any budget or any type of person or business for sure.
Awesome, man. So everybody check Chase out, man. Hit him up. Check Paul out on Mountaineer Paul Talks Football on his football channel. Check me out on my football channel at Kuz's Corner. Please subscribe here to Hoops from the Hills. We're trying to get that subscriber count up so we can start making some cash. And so yeah, just check us out, man. And follow Chase. Keep up with his pro career, man. I'm sure you can Google it and find out what he has going on. But yeah, it's an honor and pleasure to talk to you, man. And hopefully one of these days. Real quick, do you ever have any plans of coaching once you're done playing?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't know how much longer, or I don't know how long I want to play for. My wife's in vet school right now, so she has 2 more years left, and then she wants to do a year in Europe, so she can work over here, and I'll play for a year, and then that'll be my year 5. And I think after that year, we'll have to kind of make a decision if we want to continue to do the Europe thing or come back and settle down. So yeah, I'd love to get into coaching. Yeah, Hug's got a couple more years left. I might just come in and take his spot.
There you go.
Who knows?
Just hand you the reins, baby.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Speaking of that, man, what about Missoula, man?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Darius Nichols too.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of meeting him one time, just totally out of the blue. He was living in Johnson City, Tennessee, for a while after he got finished playing ball, and it's part of my sales territory for my day job. And a guy says, "You from West Virginia?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Hold on a minute." He picks the phone. He says, "Hey, Darius, I got a guy here down here who wants to meet you." 10 minutes later, he walks in the door. I'm like, man, it was a small world. And we ended up going to lunch like a week or two later, just chatting, man. I just wanted to pick his brain. I wasn't even doing this yet. I was just a fan. Like, I wanted to find out because he played for Beeline and Hugs both, and I wanted to find out the differences and night and day differences, by the way. But he had great things to say about Hugs, though. I mean, he loves Hugs to death. But so it was really cool. I don't know why I told you that. It just came when he mentioned Darius Nichols. It came to my mind. But
that's cool.
Long story short, I really enjoy meeting. Even though this is not face to face, it's pretty much like face to face. And I really enjoy you coming on and spending time with us, man. It's an honor.
For sure. Appreciate it, guys.
And good luck to you over there in Europe, man. Hope you guys can win a championship.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Everybody,
good luck in your marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? As far as like, can't wait to see you have kids and the whole deal.
Well, thank you. I'm sure they'll be coming soon.
Well, everybody, please subscribe. Go check Chase out on social media. Hit him up if you're a business and want to participate in the NIL, Country Roads Trust NIL. And with that, we are out.